All right, welcome everybody. Here is your video that I told you I would make for the reading of our Capturing the Sun's Energy. This is part 2. You have already done the first part. And so I'm just going to go ahead and get us started reading right here. Let me see if I can get this to do what I want it to do. Perfect. So we're going to be looking for vocabulary, matter, producer, photosynthesis, chloroplast, chlorophyll, cellulose, and biomass. You may have already seen matter, well, you should have already seen matter and producer in the previous reading. So here we're going to go ahead and start here. This is producers use photosynthesis. You may have noticed a lot of green in the photographs in this lesson. That is because this lesson is about producers, and most producers are green. What does the green color have to do with capturing energy to make food? Scrolling down a little bit, and we're going to be here. Photosynthesis takes place in chloroplasts. In almost all ecosystems on Earth, producers capture energy in sunlight and use it to produce food through photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process of using energy from the sun and matter from the surroundings to produce sugars that store energy in chemical bonds. In most producers, such as the plant shown in figure 2a, we'll see that in just a minute, this process happens in chloroplasts. Chloroplasts are cell structures that use the sun's energy to make sugar through the process of photosynthesis. The middle panel in figure 2a shows the cells of a plant leaf. Each cell has many chloroplasts, shown in the right panel of the figure. One striking characteristic of chloroplasts is that they are green. So I'm going to scroll down here so we can look at these. So this is the figure that we were talking about. This is 2a. We have our producer, which is a plant. We have our producer cells, and then we're going to go even closer. So we're looking specifically at this cell right here. And this right here is our microscopic view of that cell. It says chloroplasts in the cells, and they have them colored in green here so you can see them. All right, I'm going back up and I'm right here. So chlorophyll absorbs energy from light. The green color of a chloroplast comes from a molecule that absorbs energy from light. The molecule, chlorophyll, is a green pigment that is essential for photosynthesis. Chlorophyll absorbs energy when light shines on it. Like other pigments, chlorophyll absorbs only certain colors of light. It reflects any colors of light that it does not absorb. One color of light that chlorophyll does not absorb is green light. When you study waves of light, you will learn that the light reflecting off of an object is what allows you to see it. That is why green plants look green. Their leaves are all made up of cells that have many chloroplasts. Chloroplasts contain chlorophyll, and chlorophyll reflects mostly green light. Thus, the plants appear green in color. So this is just from the caption above. I'm going to move to this part of the reading. This is called Producers Get Matter from Air and Water. Producers also need matter, which they get from their surroundings. Photosynthesis requires water, which many plants absorb through their roots. It also requires carbon dioxide, a gas found in air. Aquatic plants use carbon dioxide dissolved in water. With carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight, producers have everything they need for photosynthesis. Light causes a chemical reaction. The process of photosynthesis begins when chlorophyll absorbs the energy of sunlight. This input of energy causes a chemical reaction to occur in the chloroplast. Chlorophyll can transfer the sun's energy to the bonds of molecules of sugar through a chemical reaction. In photosynthesis, energy is captured from sunlight and is used to produce sugar molecules from water and carbon dioxide. The chemical equation representing this process is carbon dioxide plus water plus energy reacts to form sugar plus oxygen. The equation in figure 2b, and that's this right here, is a model that describes the reaction as a chemical formula. Chemical formulas have reactants, or the molecules used in the reaction, on the left side. Products, the molecules produced in the reaction, appear on the right side. The reactants in this chemical equation are carbon dioxide and water, and the products are sugar and oxygen. Notice how energy is placed on the left side of the arrow. That is because this chemical reaction requires an input of energy, which is then transferred to the molecules of the products. The chemical bonds that hold together the atoms in the sugar molecule store that energy. Notice that in figure 2b, the reaction is balanced on each side. Because sugar has 6 carbon atoms in it, see, we see C6, that means there's 6 carbons. The reaction requires 6 carbon molecules on the reactant side. Review the reaction. Are all of the atoms balanced on each side? So you would have to count up the number of each of these atoms. And remember, when there's a number in front of the chemical formula, that means there are 6 of all of the atoms, or 6 times each of the atoms involved. So in this case, if we're looking at 6 CO2, it means there are 6 carbons and 12 oxygens, because we have to multiply that 6 times the 2. With our water, it's 6 times 2 H's, so 12 hydrogens and 6 oxygens. So try and figure out the other side for yourself. You have some questions down here, 1 through 4, and I'm going to continue on reading. So here is our spot, storing energy and matter. You'll recognize some root vegetables here. We have some carrots, we have a parsnip, and we have some beets. Some of the matter and energy a producer captures during photosynthesis gets stored. Carrot and beet plants produce sugars through photosynthesis in their leaves and then store some in their roots for later use. It would be inconvenient to have to go to the store every time you are hungry. One solution is to buy more food than you need right away and store the extra food in the refrigerator or cupboard. How do producers solve this problem? So here's a hint. It has something to do with this right here. Stored energy and matter in organisms. Producers use some of the matter and energy they capture during photosynthesis right away to support life processes. Cells carry out chemical reactions that release the energy stored in the bonds of sugar molecules and use that energy to survive, grow, and reproduce. For cells, these sugar molecules are like gasoline for a car. Cells need them in order to work. The sugars, there we go. The sugars that producers make during photosynthesis are more than just a source of energy. They are also the building blocks of the producer's body. Producers combine sugar molecules into more complex molecules, such as starch or cellulose. Cellulose is the material that forms the rigid cell walls and support for plant cells. If you compare the molecular models of the sugar and cellulose in figure 4, you can see that cellulose looks like many sugar molecules bound together. That is because producers use sugar molecules as the building blocks for producing cellulose. So we're talking about figure 4, which is right here. And they're saying that this is a sugar, and this looks like many pieces of sugar all joined together. We're going to be right here. Producers store some of the matter and energy they capture for later use. Some matter and energy is stored in the matter and chemical bonds of sugars, and some is stored in the form of more complex molecules. Sometimes a producer needs to grow or work even when there is not enough light to carry out photosynthesis. Stored food can support that growth. Root vegetables, such as beets and carrots, taste sweet because their thick roots store sugars and starches, which is more which are more complex sugar molecules for a plant to use later. Fruits, nuts, and seeds store sugars that support the growth of a sprouting plant before it has developed leaves that can carry out photosynthesis. So we're down here. Sugars are the building blocks of more complex molecules that producers use to build their body parts. Simple sugar molecules are combined through chemical reactions to produce more complex molecules, such as starch or cellulose. Cellulose makes up the bulk of plant bodies. So we're going to scroll down, and here we go. When you eat plants, whether is it a carrot or a piece of bread made with wheat seeds, you are using the energy stored by the producer as your source of energy. Although producers form sugar through photosynthesis, they often store energy in different forms, such as more complex starch molecules. Healthy plant foods are usually a combination of sugar and more complex storage molecules. And we're here. Stored energy and matter in ecosystems. In addition to producers, other kinds of organisms benefit from photosynthesis. All other organisms get their energy ultimately from the energy stored by producers through photosynthesis, either by eating producers or by eating other organisms that eat producers. That is how photosynthesis provides the energy to make all of the living matter in ecosystems on Earth. How has this changed the Earth's ecosystems? So think about that question and see if you can find the answer. Here we go. When scientists talk about living matter, they use the term biomass. Biomass is the combined mass of the bodies of the organisms, which collectively represents stored energy. Excuse me. Producers create biomass through photosynthesis. They capture matter and energy from non-living sources and transform it into sugar molecules and more complex molecules based on sugar, such as starch and cellulose. When an organism eats a producer, it uses the matter and energy stored in the producers and turns it into the matter and energy of that organism. Earth has been transformed by photosynthesis. The planet's terrestrial surfaces are green because of chlorophyll in land plants, and the surfaces of the ocean, of its oceans, are rich in phytoplankton. Without photosynthesis, Earth's land would likely be rocky, brown, and gray. There would not be oxygen in the atmosphere at the concentrations seen today without producers releasing oxygen as a product of photosynthesis over billions of years. Ultimately, photosynthesis is the origin of the vast majority of the biomass on the planet. Without photosynthesis, the living parts of Earth's systems would have no way of accessing matter for energy. Without photosynthesis, there would not be life on Earth as we know it. So you have a couple more questions here. And then when you're all done, you're going to click turn it in or turn in at the top right-hand side of your screen.